You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Micah Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. So glad that you have joined me. Listen, it's a Super Tuesday, political day. Democrats are out voting today. It's going to be interesting. And I want you to pay special attention to California. If California goes completely Bernie, then does that say that the Democrats have gone full-on socialists? I'll be right back right after this.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
I'm always amazed at how Super Tuesday works because you see a whole bunch of numbers. You're going to see some splitting off from Bernie to Biden. Now, I'm really concerned about Biden because as I listen to him, I'm really concerned as to the sound fit of his mind because he is making a gaffe every single moment that he speaks almost. So I'm really concerned as to if the Democrats are putting their full hope into Biden because they want to get rid of Bernie. What are they really saying? They're going to have to get a very strong vice president candidate, whoever that may be. And quite frankly, right now, the Democrats do not have anybody that is strong. So we have a big-time issue with the Democrats not having any viable candidates. That's the biggest issue at the moment. Now, if we look at California, and I'm going to specifically talk about the city of San Francisco because I've been watching it very closely and I've had some interactions on Twitter and everything with some of the supervisors there. They have come out for Bernie Sanders because they really believe in a socialist style of government. If you look at the city of San Francisco, it's predominantly controlled by the left and what they want to call progressives, but in actuality, they are socialists. Let me tell you something. You can say you're a progressive Democrat, you can say you're a socialist Democrat, but listen, it all boils down to you are a socialist. That's just the way it is, and that's the way that we look at you. Because you're no longer in the center of the road where you can see good things from the right and good things from the left. What you're seeing now are individuals who go full to the left. I mean, way over to the left. You can't even see them anymore. They've gone around the curvature of the earth because they've gone so far left. City of San Francisco has gone so bad. They have no respect for the law. They do not enforce the laws. They've got individuals living on the streets and they don't enforce any kind of laws on cleanliness or anything else. You have a major disaster waiting to happen at any moment. And with this new flu virus going through Northern California, it could easily happen to San Francisco. It could pop up and be a major disaster for San Francisco. But the California politicians, they don't care because they have this socialist mentality that everybody's got to be treated equally and everybody's got to be treated with respect and everything. I believe in that too. But there are laws that you have to enforce. And that is the issue that happens every single time that you do not enforce the laws of your city, your state, and the federal government. So we're looking very carefully at California as a whole. If you see California going too far to the left and choosing Bernie Sanders as their leader, they have now chosen all to become socialists. We have to be very frank and we have to be very honest. Bernie Sanders is a socialist. He's not a democratic socialist. He's not a progressive. He is a socialist, and he's been a socialist all of his life. You can go back and you can listen to the history, read his history. It's all out there. You guys have access to Google and Yahoo and everything else and all these search engines. Search his history and see what he has written about the Socialist Party, about Cuba, about Russia, about his socialist agenda for the United States. It's there. So you have got to be very careful about what and who you are voting for. Now, I believe that today California will probably, on the Democratic side, will probably go fully into the socialist column. You've just seen that the state of California has adopted new laws. If you want to look at AB 5, which has basically told everybody how they have to work, has put a red stamp on that law and said we're going to force it down your throats. You can no longer be an independent contractor. You have to be a W-2 wage earner. You can't be an independent contractor because we want your tax dollars. We want the state income taxes that you should be paying in. So that eliminates a lot of independent contractor jobs in the entertainment industry, in the healthcare industry, and a whole bunch of industries because the state of California has adopted the view that business stinks. And they need to attack anybody who's in business because their tax money is more important than the individual who is trying to start a business or trying to start a practice or trying to just earn extra money in the gig economy. So Lorraine Gonzalez, who is the assemblywoman from San Diego, by the way, there is an individual running against her, decided that, well, we need to go after Uber, we need to go after Lyft, but what did she do? She included everybody who's an independent contractor in the state of California. She literally attacked every small business person in the state of California because she is so tied to the unions there in California that she only listens to the unions. She does not listen to you and I, those of us who are trying to create businesses in the state of California, which is very, very sad. It's one of those situations that you have got to really pay attention to what happens in Sacramento. There are so many laws on the books of Sacramento, in the state assembly, also in the state senate, that does great harm and great damage to people like you and I. California has decided that, just like every socialist nation does, that business and billionaires and people who try to make it are bad because they're the individuals that they can get more money out of. And that's why you see a huge exodus leaving California at the moment because they have decided in the state assembly, in the state senate, and at the governor's office to attack. So today is a good indication. As you watch today's elections, watch the state of California. If it goes all the way to Bernie Sanders, it is going to be a disaster for the state of California. By the way, I want you to know Nancy Pelosi has an individual running for them, against her, I mean. His name is John Dennis, good GOP guy, chairman of the Republican Party in San Francisco. He is there. Go to realjohndennis, DENIS.com. Get involved in his campaign. He needs your vote. Remember, in California is, you can have a whole bunch of people running, but it's whoever gets the most votes are the top two candidates. So the top two candidates who get the most votes today is probably Nancy Pelosi and somebody else. There could even be another Democrat. A Democrat can run against a Democrat. Or against a Republican against that. John Dennis is a Republican, so he is running against Nancy Pelosi. So you really need to, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area and if you're in Nancy Pelosi's district, get involved, get out and vote for John Dennis today. Give him your support. Now, there's also an individual running for Adam Schiff's position in Southern California, and his name is Early, and you need to support him because he is really a good candidate and he really has a good message out there on where the state of California should really go. So I want you to get involved in that. I want you to get involved in the campaigns, and I want you to get involved in today's vote. In California, it really counts. Now, across the rest of the nation, we'll really have to watch that too. Now, remember, we're really watching the Democrats because we already know which side the Republicans are going to go on. They're on the Donald Trump side. That's the only individual that's running on the Republican side. But on the Democratic side, we have 3 individuals now. We have Biden, we have Sanders, and we have Warren. Oh, and Bloomberg. So Bloomberg's there also. So you have those individuals, 4 individuals running for the office of president on the Democratic side. Now, unfortunately, if you look at all 4 candidates on the Republican side, what you're really seeing, all on the Democratic side, you're basically seeing the same message. Medicare for all, healthcare for all, free education, free this, free that. It's a bunch of free stuff. I said the other day that Bernie Sanders has a really bad math problem because he can't count past free. And that is the problem. And if you know the socialist propaganda, I have a book here in my office. That is the propaganda book of the Communist Party in China, and the propaganda book there for communism is always promise them something, dangle out something that everybody wants. And right now, what is the big issue? And the young people are going for it is free education. They want all of their debt written off. They have $40,000, $50,000. I know one person that has $180,000 worth of college debt or university debt. And they would love to be able to say, Bernie, please take it away from me because I don't want to pay it. However, they're the ones that made the choice to sign on that dotted line to go into debt for their education. They had other options, but they didn't look for them. But they had other options. So now they're in debt, and now they want Uncle Bernie to come along and say, I forgive your debt. I forgive everything that you've done. Even though you've signed on that line to pay off this debt, I'm sorry, but I am going to forgive you. I'm going to forgive you because I love you. I'm your socialist papa. And that's what happens. So we have an issue where a lot of young individuals have this huge amount of college debt, and they see Bernie Sanders as a good way to get rid of it. Nothing else. And they also see free healthcare. They see all this free stuff. Now, if you are a person like me who's gone up through the ranks and who has fought for everything that you've worked for, you understand and you care for what we have tried to do in our lives. And I had to go out and I had to pay my educational debt off. Thank God I didn't have much because I was working full time, going to college at the same time. I had 3 jobs, and I worked at them whenever I could to pay off that college debt. I did it my own way. I did it myself. No one helped me. My parents couldn't help me. They were too poor. So I had to do it myself, and I had to figure out a way to do it. So, but in today's age, in today's way of thinking, it is, what can I get for myself that's free, and who's going to help me to get that free stuff? Because I don't want to have the responsibility. I don't want to have the responsibility to pay for free stuff. I don't want to pay for my education. I don't want to pay for my health care. I don't want, and it's all I don't want, but it's also a whole bunch of I want. I want all this free stuff. So that's why Bernie Sanders is very popular at the moment. If you look at all of his rallies, it's mostly very young people up into the college age. I see very little older people supporting Bernie Sanders. But if you look at his rallies, you will see that it's mostly the young people who have grasped onto this idea of socialism. And they have been taught this in their college education, that socialism is a good thing. So we have to watch California very closely. We have to watch what the nation's thought process is as they go out today and they vote for an individual that could be president. That could be president. It's an amazing time. I love democracy and I love politics. The only problem with politics, it gets old very fast. I have lived through politics ever since I was a kid, because my family was heavily into politics. I had individuals running for various offices, for Congress, for Senate. And we always talked about it on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon when we gathered around and had dinner. We would always talk politics. And we always came to the conclusion that, I came to the conclusion that, gosh, you know what? Politics is really a dirty business. Do I really want to be involved in that? When I was young, I said, I want to run for an office. Just a few months ago, when I moved to the state of Florida, I said, maybe I want to run for the 20th district, because Hastings is the congressperson that represents the 20th district. The problem is that he is over there in the far left side. He used to be a federal judge, and he was impeached as a federal judge. And then he ran for Congress and became a congressperson. And he's been there for ages. He's an old guy now in his 80s. But then I thought about it and I said, I don't want to be involved in this dirtiness. I can talk about it, and then I can shut off my microphone when I'm done with my podcast, and I'm done with it. But when you're in politics, you have to live it, you have to breathe it, you have to snort it, you have to, I don't know what you have to do, but you're living it every single moment of your life, even when you're asleep. When I was going through that process of thinking, do I want to run for Congress? When I was sleeping at night, I was having dreams of running for Congress and having arguments and having debates and everything. And then when I woke up, I said, enough of this. If this is what politics is all about, I don't want to do it. Am I really going to help anybody? Now, I know that I would fight hard, but I didn't want to get involved in the dirtiness of politics. I just didn't want to do it. So I had the paperwork all filled out to run for Congress. I ripped it up, threw it in the garbage, and I said, that's enough of that idea. I'm getting too old for dirtiness. My gosh. So anyway, watch today's debate. It's going to be a good debate. By the way, today I'm doing my first broadcast on I forgot what I'm doing it on Twitter and also on Facebook. I'm on those two media outlets through Periscope. I'm using Periscope, so we'll see how this works out. I think it's a new medium. I'm seeing other politicians and people who do podcasts and broadcasts using this, so we'll see how it works out. I'm always willing to look at other areas of podcasting and broadcasting. Anyway, let's watch and see what happens tonight. Everybody go out and have a great day. Remember that this is America. We have a democracy. We vote. We're very clear in our views. I don't think any of us have changed our mind in listening to all these politicians. I think we all pretty much knew what we were going to vote for in the first place. Maybe some of you have done some mind changing, but I think that the most of us had already made up our mind. But it's an interesting process, right? Because we hear a lot of different things that come out of these people, and we wonder, you're making all these promises, but it's not you who does it. It's the Congress that enacts these laws. If you want free health care, that's got to go through Congress. And I'm telling you right now, it would never get past the Senate. And I've got a feeling that Congress is going to change and it's going to revert back into the Republican hands in 2020. But all of this stuff that Bernie is promising you guys has to go through a legislative process. He just cannot snap his fingers and say, hey, I'm going to give you this free stuff. It just doesn't happen. There will be a battle. It will be a big battle in the United States Congress and the Senate. So those of you who are believing all this nonsense, also I want to mention one other thing before I close out this podcast. I always bring in this. I always think of these things as I'm talking. Listen, I want you to go back to the time where the housing market was really bad. I mean, it went way down, right? People were in negatives. The houses were upside down. The debt on the house was more than the value of the house. So what did they have to do? They had to go for loan modifications. The amount of money that was saved in that loan modification was taxable. It had to be reported on your income taxes as income. Bank sent you a statement showing how much money that you had to, how much was modified, and that was the amount that you had to report on your 1040. Same thing's going to happen if your student loan is modified or changed or forgiven. That amount becomes taxable because that's what the Internal Revenue Code says. So if you think that that's going to be free, it's not. There's going to be taxes that you're going to owe on that. So if you've been forgiven $150,000 of debt or $40,000 of debt, that's going to be taxable. So all of you people who always think everything is free, nothing is free. At some point in time, it becomes income, it becomes taxable, and you are responsible for that. Never think anything's free. All that free stuff, someone's got to pay for. Why do you think in Denmark and in Sweden they are so frustrated? Because 50% or more of their income goes to pay for taxes. 1 in 4 Denmark and Sweden are getting their own private insurance now because they don't like the government system. The wait time is too long. The care is poor. 1 out of 5 individuals in Denmark and Sweden are sending their kids to private schools. The other issue is that when you go to school in Sweden, you are paid $1,000 a month. Each student gets $1,000 a month. Do you know what that did to Sweden? Individuals thought, my gosh, this $1,000 a month, that's pretty good money. It's tax-free. I don't have to pay anything on it. So instead of going to school for 4 years, they stretched it out to 5 and 6 and 7 years because they didn't want to give up that $1,000. The other thing that hit them really hard was when Syria fell, when they had that big problem and all those refugees ran into the EU and ran up to Sweden and Denmark because they had all this free stuff that they heard about, but they were not participating in the tax flow. The Swede and the Danish governments had a problem. They couldn't afford all this free stuff anymore. I remember I was there 1 year in Denmark, and it was their election time. And they were saying, we've got to get rid of this free stuff because it's just costing us too much. They've done some modifications to it lately, but they decided they needed to tweak it just a little bit because it was costing the government too much and they couldn't raise any more money. Gosh, I was talking to a taxi cab driver in Denmark and he said, you know what, I want to go to America. He says, you see this taxi cab that I'm driving, the taxes on it is 150%. It's more than the value of the car. That's why you see so many bikes in Denmark and Sweden. It's because they can't afford to buy a vehicle. They can't afford to buy a car. It's just too expensive because the taxes on it is too high. So I am concerned when I hear all these young people, they're saying we want to go the socialist road, but they've done no study on exactly how that impacts everyone in the United States. I know that they want all that free health care. They want their college debt to be forgiven. But that costs the rest of us big time. In every single socialist nation, it has never, ever worked. We have socialist nations right now where people are out in the streets protesting because of the way that the government is run and the high taxation. I was talking to a taxi cab driver in Italy. I said, so how's your economy here? And he blew up. He says, I can't take it anymore. We need a revolution in Italy because I can't even go out and have a good time on the weekends. I can't go see a movie. I can't have a dinner. I used to be able to take my family out to have dinner, a movie, maybe do some dancing, maybe have a little bit of good wine. But now they're limited to what they can do because they're taxed so heavily. And this is what socialist nations do, is they tax you so much that you become a prisoner within your own little house because you can't move anywhere anymore. The only time you leave is to go to work to pay taxes. So when we see young people looking at this and listening to socialism and Bernie Sanders, you have to kind of slap them in the face and say, get real, because what he is telling you, what Bernie is telling you, is nothing but a lie. Anyway, that's it for today. Listen, everybody out on Periscope, I'm glad you've joined us. Everyone out, I'm doing this as a live broadcast today also on Speaker, iHeartRadio, a whole bunch of 19 other stations I'm out there on. Listen, if you have any comments, send me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. I look forward to seeing you, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.